here's how to not lose money. The answer is information, because when you know that something like that is likely to happen, you can bet against that, maybe short the market, maybe take your money out, and then you can keep your smile on your face. How do you do that? There are a couple different groups. I made videos before on private groups. Honestly, I think I joined like over 20 at this point. Half of them kind of suck. A quarter of them give you the same basic ideas that, you know, every free group gives you too. And there are a couple few that I would actually recommend. Some of them are open right now. Others aren't. For example, last year for $5,000, which was a lot of money, I joined Gem Hunters from Luke Belmer. This was alright. They aren't that accurate. For example, they talk about, hey, you can long the market now. You can buy a bunch of coins like Hype, for example, which, you know, in this case was a good trade. However, they announce things multiple times. For example, right here at like $12.50, they say, this is a great price, let's buy it. At $11, they say, buy it. And then at $9 or $10, they say, buy it. And then eventually it goes up and they say, see, it went up. We are right. I mean, obviously, in this case, it did actually go up, but you get the idea behind it. However, recently, when everything came down by a lot, the one group that I joined not too long ago was called Valaris over here, or you know, read this, pause this, whatever. Talked about pretty much the exact idea of that. Bitcoin ETFs are negative. Look at the time frame, see what happens. And they called this pretty accurately. This was on the 5th at like 2 p.m. So around like 83k in Bitcoin over here. And a day later, when they said it's probably gonna go down to like 73.5k, went down pretty much to that number. They caught this one exactly. And they've done this a couple other times in the past. And I thought, because on YouTube, nobody ever made a video on them, I wanted to update you on some of the groups that I'm in. Also the fact that Bitcoin is now up by like 3,000 in the last couple hours. That's also a pretty good sign. Gem Hunters was like $5,000 and pretty expensive, but it made money, so this one was worth it. Wealth Group over here is still a very solid group, but I think it's like $225 a month, but also great when it comes to chart analysis, altcoins and all of that. But I've covered them a couple times before. And then if you want to like finish the holy trifecta, the holy trinity of information and all that, there's Valaris. I think they used to be German only, now they're international. And maybe it helps you to not lose money. Because it's great if you make money with crypto, but keeping it and not losing it is another part of the whole equation. The whole story is basically they saw a problem, trading kind of sucks, and over 700 people already made money with them. And you know, when it goes up, like in this very moment, we all make money regardless, but it's exactly the moments where things can come down out of nowhere if information is super important. And being in the right altcoins is even more important. And for me, it never backfired to invest into myself and invest into knowledge, because the more you learn, the more you earn. Their price level is somewhat medium. Gem Hunters used to be 5,000. I think it went down to like 3,000 when ETH was at 3,000 because it cost 1 ETH. So it's like 250 a month. This is 225 and this is 98. But honestly, compared to the other two, it's more affordable and gives you pretty much the same quality of information. It's not a cost, it's the first investment that pays you back. I also like to think, if I spent money on Netflix, which I don't by the way, remove that, torrent everything because it's free online, and just take the monthly plan. And just like Mr. Becker said, sell your alts and fuck off. This arena was never meant for tourists, basically leave. People are super emotional. Let's say you have $10 million, right? You're the richest man in your whole neighborhood. Everything is invested. Unless you take the money out, you have zero money. It doesn't matter how much money you have invested. If you have 10 million or $10 or nothing, it's the exact same. It's zero. If you don't use it, if you don't sell the investment to take the money and do something with it, 10 million equals zero. In terms of what you can do with that. Obviously, you feel a lot better with the money compared to zero, but if you don't use it for anything, it's worthless. So let's say this is your portfolio here. You buy something, it goes up, you're super happy. You did like a 3x overall. And now it comes back down and you even lose 20% because you didn't sell at the top. And it's down here. In this entire time frame, let's say this will be 1 year. In this entire time frame, you had no access to the money anyways. It just stayed in there. Nothing happened. You're the same person, but you had all this emotional change from beginning until end to be in the same situation or worse. And then eventually it goes back up. And then you're happy and then you take a profit. But until this point in time, however many days, months, weeks, years, it doesn't matter how much your portfolio is worth. It equals zero. So when you have 10,000 and it goes up to 20 or 30, then it comes down to like 10 and then 8,000. And you're super worried, you feel like it was all for nothing. Eventually, as we see, crypto tends to go up. You can get bigger multipliers if you buy the right things and you're in the right communities. But if you look at this as like a 10-year frame, it doesn't matter what point you buy in here, never mattered. It always went up in the end. But if you buy something that you believe in is going to be worth more in the future, then your entire emotional state between buying now and selling in the future does not matter. Let's say you check the charts 10 times a day for the next 2 years until you sell. You would look at charts and the price 7,300 times. And that compared to somebody who simply buys this, does nothing ever, and then sells in 2 years. Is that you have to worry about things, or be happy, be sad, whatever, emotionally invested. 7,000 times, even though it had absolutely no impact. And I got this frame of mind from when I order food, which sounds weird, but let me explain. Let's say the app for tracking kind of sucks with the GPS and where they're at. And they might say they're here in 20 minutes. That means in 15 minutes I'm going to check my phone if they're early, in 17 minutes to see if they're early, at 20 minutes to see if they're there, at 22 minutes, and I'm constantly stressed and worried if I let them wait or if I'm missing them. When in reality I had to do absolutely nothing until I get the message at the end. I could have been happy and unworried the entire time, completely forget about that, and it has the same result. So ask yourself now, over the last couple days, when we went down to 74,000 and now back up to 81,000, how often did you look at the charts? How did it affect you emotionally? Was your day worse than it was before? Do you feel a sort of relief now that it goes back up? You didn't have to do anything at all, and we're still here. So why worry? Take the money, take some profit, get into communities, and then you can live stress-free and be happy and realize that you never really lose money. While it's invested, it's worth zero. You're not doing anything with that anyways, and if you invest money that you need to go up, then you're just gambling. Do you want to be a gambler or do you want to be a winner? Your turn, stack the deck of cards in your favor, get some information. Now I got a Whoop band on my arm, which means it can measure my sleep quality and recovery stats and all of that. And you can tell that in the last couple days I did get 100% sleep because there is no need to worry once you have good information so you can buy things correctly. And now it turns out things go up again and you can continue to sleep and be happy. And I like that quite a lot. Information helped me a lot. Go with the ones that are free first. There's enough on Twitter, there's enough on Telegram. If you want the high quality, I got links down below. And I hope you share the sentiment. If not, read some philosophy, be a little bit more stoic. This doesn't matter. You're gonna die anyways. Can you take money into the grave? No. And let's say you would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars that you now lost. What would you do with that? Would you buy a house? Would you buy a car? Does that matter? No. It's just money, just a number. Once you have a little bit and you're stable, it's just a number on a screen. Plus, this isn't even real. It's all digital. Do you have that physically? When you pay out crypto, is it going to be physically? Probably not. It's going to be in your bank account or on your virtual crypto cards. For example, I made a video on Cast where you can just put in stable coins and then you get a virtual card for Apple Pay or Google Pay. You can just pay with that. But the entire time, none of this is physical, just numbers. And if we talk a little bit more spiritually about everything, it is easier for most people to achieve any financial goal and then buy everything they ever wanted to have than mentally come to the conclusion that none of that matters. You can be happy either way. For example, 20 years ago, nobody wanted a Lambo because there weren't really any Lambos, no rappers used them, whatever. Then they became popular and now everybody, when you get your first supercar, whatever, you want a Lambo. Or like a GT3 as a Porsche. Nobody ever wanted them like 50 years ago. They didn't exist. Were humans happy back then and could they live? Yes. But based on what you see, and based on what you listen to mentally, your thoughts aren't yours. You have different goals in life and things you want to have. If you come to the conclusion that you're just happy the way you are right now, nothing really changes, whether you have the money you have right now, like 20 million extra, things don't change. You're just you. You're gonna sit there regardless. You're gonna have a computer in front of you probably. You're gonna have the same phone. No matter how rich you are, you can only get an iPhone 16 Pro. It doesn't get better than that. You might fly first class or you might fly economy on a budget airline, but you get to the same location in the same time. It's just a bit more comfortable. And does the comfort really matter? Do you admire the strong soldier who goes through hardship or the guy who sits on a couch because it's comfortable? So technically, flying economy is better. But at this point, I'm rambling. Get the idea, the entire world is mental, and how you feel about that is the reflection of your inner state. Once you're happy inside of here, this doesn't really matter too much. And when you know that this is very likely going to go up anyways, and it's going to head to $1 million in the future at some point, just buy it and wait. How you feel in between doesn't matter too much. And in the worst case, we can all work at McDonald's. Somebody has to flip the burgers.